Hello, and thanks everyone for joining us. I'm sorry if there's a bit of a time mix-up, but we're all here. Thank you for joining later than the registration form said. It's all my bad. I'm Romy Beard. I'm the EIFL Licensing Program Manager, for those that don't know me. And we've got two guest speakers here from OpenAthens, Christos and, sorry, I can't see his name there.
It's James.
James, sorry, I was going to say James, I know, so I would get it wrong. Yeah, before I hand over to them, just a couple of housekeeping things. Everyone's in attendee only mode just now. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A, or if there's time at the end, you can raise your hand and you can speak. I can allow you to speak. I am recording the meeting and we'll share the recording with everyone who registered and attended. So if you're watching this later, thanks for watching. Before I hand over to these guys, I just wanted to show you briefly the OpenAthens Lite page on the EIFL website. So you can find this on the EIFL.net if you go to the main page. And then if you go to what we do, negotiated research support services, and there you can scroll down and you'll find the OpenAthens Lite page. So we've only recently, a couple of weeks ago, signed the agreement with OpenAthens for the OpenAthens Lite version. So there's lots of information on this page about what OpenAthens Lite includes, including lots of additional information and comparisons. And this is also where I will put the recording and maybe even James's slides from the webinar today. So you'll be able to find them here, but I will email them out as well. So if you are, we're not going to discuss pricing in this webinar because we'll make it public. So if you'd like to get a quote after, then please feel free to contact me. Also, the licensing program managers in each country, they can access the pricing pages, and they will have been emailed the pricing pages, which is in the intranet, so that's passport protected. But like I said, if you got any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly as well. In terms of next steps, and James will point this out as well, you can, we recommend that you book a demo before you place any orders, and you can do this on the OpenAthens Lite page for EIFL on the book a demo. That's everything from me just now, and hand over to James and Christos. Thank you.
Great, yeah, thank you, Romy. Yes, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So my name is James Edwards, and I am a business development manager for OpenAthens, and I look after the Europe and Africa territories for OpenAthens, and my colleague Christos, he looks after the APAC territories and the Middle East. So we're going to start off with just a few slides with an introduction to OpenAthens and what OpenAthens Lite is as well, before I pass over to my colleague Christos, who's then going to run through and do a demo of OpenAthens for you. So let me just share my screen a moment. Great, perfect. So what is OpenAthens Lite? OpenAthens Lite is a simple, economical, secure remote access solution. And it's through the collaboration we've done with EIFL and your members, we've managed to offer OpenAthens with all of its really essential core features that make it such a great remote access solution, but being able to tailor it to fit more of the EIFL members' demands and the certain sort of budget requirements in there. So you're still getting the core benefits of OpenAthens that we think will make that remote access so important for your students or your members, your users of your library resources. Just to start off with, then I'll talk about OpenAthens. Why, the how, and the what. So why did it come about? And OpenAthens, came about because we wanted to remove barriers to knowledge and connect people to information. That's the key part of what we're doing with this. And so those barriers, they can be clunky software, it can be login screens, it can be paywalls. There are so many things that stop a user trying to access content, and we want to remove those to give them that seamless access. And how do we do that? And it's providing this, robust and reliable gateway between that content, that subscription-based content, and anyone who needs to access it. So they can be students, nurses, doctors, whatever they might be, but anyone who's trying to access that subscription-based content. And then what you end up with then is a single sign-on software that enables people to access digital content. And so what I mean by single sign-on here is true single sign-on. So your users will have one username and password that they will then use to access all of your subscriptions. And most importantly on that, they only have to log in once per session. So once they have logged in, they can access all of those different subscriptions, those different databases and publisher sites, and they will just seamlessly be accessed to that site without the need to log in again. And so some of the values that you can get from OpenAthens then, one of the key is happy users. So because your users are getting access to that content so seamlessly, they are going to be much more happy about trying to get that content, and you're going to have to deal with less inquiries about asking, how do I get this? So, if they're out there, they're on their mobile phones, they're trying to access content, it's going to be a nice, seamless user experience for them. And so they're going to be much happier with their studies and getting access to that content. Another key part is the minimal admin side to OpenAthens. So particularly with OpenAthens Lite as well, we've made it a really simplified product that's really easy to use, and it doesn't require really maybe a little bit, but only at the start during setup. After it's set up, there's no need for any IT team involvement. It really can be handled by a librarian, a single librarian, and that's how the product and the solution can serve. And also just the fact that it's fully hosted, so there's nothing to install again locally, really making it a really simple and easy to manage solution. Peace of mind, you can know that OpenAthens, OpenAthens Lite in particular here, we haven't cut back on any of the security side of it. It's still a far more secure method of access than using just reliant upon IP. And it's also a very future-proof solution as well. So it's not just a foregone technology, it's a technology that has been used and developed going forward as well. As part of OpenAthens Lite, we also still want to give you the chance to see reports and look at which resources are being accessed. So you can still get that benefit with OpenAthens Lite of seeing which of your resources are being used by your users remotely. And really, essentially, in all of this, you are leaving all the difficult stuff to us. I really want to make it clear that OpenAthens Lite is a real simple to use product. It's something that we can set up within, depending on the size of your institution, from anything from 2 weeks to 4 weeks is what we're looking at there for most institutions. But we can give you a better deadline on that once we speak to you individually. But yeah, it's a simple to use and simple to set up working solution. Then a little bit about OpenAthens as a company. We were developed around the turn of the millennium, and now we're helping over 2,600 organizations across the globe provide that remote access to their subscriptions, whether that be ebooks, databases, whatever it might be. And so we've got in that there's 4 million users of the service. So and they are pretty much logged in from every country around the world. So it's kind of developed into this big this worldwide used product as it is today. And something key to our vision at OpenAthens is to be the world's most user-friendly information and access management experience. And that is really a very key to everything we're trying to achieve with our service, of our solution. We understand that users out there, they access content in many different ways, and particularly at the moment, you've got mobile usage is becoming more and more relevant. And also remote access, with the situation we're in, remote access now is key. People can't just go to a campus or expect to go to a campus and access content, library content from there. They want to be able to access it on the move or at home on any device. And so we are feeding that user experience and trying to build the development that matches that user case for the users in the best way possible. So it fits in seamlessly to their workflow. And that goes for the librarian side as well. We want to make sure that the service is easy to use for them as well, and it can fit seamlessly into their workflow without having to provide additional tasks or any time-consuming jobs. And then just a little bit on that. I mean, OpenAthens is, I'll touch on the technology, why it's a bit different. And we're using the same technology with OpenAthens Lite. But, you know, the key thing is here is this shift that's happening away from IP, because you can go to RA21, which is the resource access for the 21st century. And, you know, there is this understanding that's coming together that, you know, IP just doesn't work in today's distributed world. And that has only been accelerated after the last kind of couple of years we've had with this demand on remote access, and how IP and just a proxy solution on its own isn't really the best fix for that. And so OpenAthens and OpenAthens Lite can help make sure that you've got a solution that's built for now and also ready for the future as well. And this is then just touching on that, a very light brief touch on the differences that's going on here. So you've got you know, an IP proxy solution there on the right, and then OpenAthens authentication there on the left. And the key difference here is that SAML handshake compared to the IP recognition. So with an IP, your users become one, all of them become one individual anonymous user, you know, so they all become one. That, you know, is a sort of a complex and in terms of to manage, particularly with a proxy, but also it's a legacy sort of technology. And it's not, you know, IP was never designed to be doing that as a way of recognizing or authenticating users. Whereas the SAML method, your users remain unique. And they, you know, that handshake that happens with the providers, the content providers, it means that there's that two-way transparency going on, providing a more secure method and a better method of authentication for your users. And that's because it can do things like support user personalization. So Christos will touch on this a bit later in the demo, but those sites that offer you know, individual accounts on their sites, if they are working with SAML and OpenAthens, you know, we can log them into their own personal accounts on those sites as well. So one less login step that those users have to go through to, you know, benefit or maximize the benefits of those services offered by those for publishers. I've touched on it, future-proof, you know, more and more moving to that SAML method of authentication. And, you know, it's a fully hosted and supported product. There is nothing to install locally on your systems of OpenAthens or for you to essentially manage. It's all managed by us, and you can just go in there and administer and do the certain tasks that are required for OpenAthens to run. And so with that, there's no hidden costs. Your annual fee for OpenAthens Lite, there's no sort of additional fees of running services on top of that or anything like that. It includes everything, the support, the continued support you will have with the service, and all the running costs as well involved. So coming then to it then, so how have we managed to offer OpenAthens Lite, you know, at this discounted price? And it does, you know, there are some differences between the full OpenAthens service, and that's still available to yourselves if that's more appropriate to your institution. So some of the key things here really is the vendor connections, which I'll touch on as well in a bit more. It is limited to up to 20. And so what we have as a vendor connection, which I'll show you in a moment, it is those publishers. And so if you have up to 10, you can come in at an entry level price point. And if you have more than 10 up to 20, then you've come into another price point there. If you do have more than that, again, it might be beneficial just to pay for each one individually. We have pricing for that. But otherwise, you might want to look at the full standard OpenAthens subscription. The reporting, you are still going to get reporting. You understand that's key, and we don't want you missing out on that. But it'll be a kind of a cut down reporting option. You can still see the number of users, the number of authentications, and alongside that as well, you'll be able to see which resources are being accessed the most and stuff. The bits that we'll be missing out, it gets a bit complicated. It does involve a bit of IT, is that you will be missing out on things like the permission sets and the attribute roles, but all of those can be you know, done in the standard package if you feel that they are important to your institution. You're still going to get a support. The support desk is going to be there as part of it, as part of that package, and you'll still have guidance through the onboarding process as well. So just a little bit on those vendor connections, we would ask for, if you're interested in OpenAthens, for you to send us your list of vendors. However, you can also check yourself. If you go to our website and scroll right the way down to the bottom, you'll see a link to compatible providers, and then you'll get this this screen here where you can search for the providers in there that work with OpenAthens. Again, though, to save you time, you can send that list to us and we can also do that for you on your behalf. This is just a screen grab of some of those that you work with. So, many of those in the EIFL agreements that are already there, they are compatible with OpenAthens. So we should be no problems there adding those subscriptions to the service. But there are many more. There's thousands of providers that we can work with, as you'll see in that list should you visit it. And then also we can connect to other services. So in that OpenAthens Lite, we're allowing one connection to another directory. And what we mean by a directory is where your users are stored. So we don't want you to necessarily have to create OpenAthens accounts. We can connect to your directory, so your users will use their existing credentials, their existing university credentials. So they don't need to learn anything new. They will just use those to log into OpenAthens. So that could be from Google, Microsoft ADFS is very popular there. And you can also bring in other services. So if you have a library discovery service of some sort, such as EBSCO Discovery Service, we can bring those solutions in as well, and any virtual learning environments you might have to help make it a true single sign-on experience that I mentioned at the beginning. Alongside OpenAthens Lite, there are some obviously additional features as well. So there is self-registration. This is for if you need to create accounts, you can create a page where your users go to and they create the account, they get their information in, an account is created for them and they get the email. So the librarian there doesn't have to create accounts or anything like that. So that's a great option to help take some costs out. And that add-on service, and if you ask for a demo with us, we can explore that to see if it's relevant to you. And then if you want, as I said, more connections, so whether that be to local directories or to vendors or domains, again, we can look at those as a one-on-one add-on costs to make sure that the service is tailored to you. And then one of the real key ones here, and one of the one that our users, our customers find really helpful, is MyAthens Plus. So this is very much sort of like a library portal that is, it's mobile friendly, and your users can go to there as a good starting point for their research. Christos will show this a bit later in the demo, and really what he wants to show to you about MyAthens Plus is, how easy it is for librarians to have a library page, which is very easy to use. There's no real necessary heavy training involved. It is very simple to set up and create your boxes and things like that. And your users have a very simple place to go to start their user experience. All the linking in it is already pre-managed due to its connection, with the actual OpenAthens service itself. And most importantly, this is designed mobile friendly. It is, so the page you're creating will look great on the user's mobile devices as well. But Christos will go into that in a bit more detail. So yeah, that's just a little bit into the differences of OpenAthens and OpenAthens Lite and some more information. And now, Christos, over to you for the live demo, the exciting stuff.
Thanks, James. Hey, everybody. Let me share my screen. Just let me know if you can see it okay.
Yeah, we can see that.
Right. Now, I would like to start with the user journey. As James said before, it's very easy for users to use OpenAthens to log into resources with one username and password. I'm going to use a live account. These customers of ours are based in Australia. Now, I'm based in London, so this is a true remote access, demo here. And, I'm logging in from my laptop, but I could easily log in from my mobile phone, from my tablet. It doesn't matter. Now, I will want to show the user journey in a couple of ways. One way is I can start with MyAthens Plus, as James said before. This is an add-on, but we've seen a lot of interest the last few months since we redesigned that web portal. So I'm going to show you how the users can have all the links there, and they can go to resources. But then I will show you as well the option that you may have a library portal already. So I'm going to go to, again, our Australian customers have their library portal and show how OpenAthens works with that as well. And then I'm going to go and show you how the librarian, as an administrator, how they can check the reporting module, how they can customize My Athens as well, how easy it is to, to go and move things around, create links and things like that. So let me click that.
Hi, Christos. Can you make your browser window bigger? I think it's not on full screen. Yeah.
How about now? Is it a bit better?
Thank you. Perfect.
No worries at all. So I'm going to put the username and password here. I click sign in, and this is where the OpenAthens session starts. So this is the My Athens. You have the list of resources. You have the ability to actually make some resources favorable so that they are on the top of your list as a user. So I pretend I'm a doctor in Australia. I'm traveling. I want to access some of these resources. The library has put here some information about contact details. As I said before, it's very easy to customize that, and lots of customers have done so. And I will go to another account just to show you how different it can look. But here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to some links, and I'll open them on a different tab and see what happens there. So here, this is an Australian database, Australian Medicine's Handbook. I logged in automatically. I didn't have to put in any other login details, any credentials. You can see here, it recognized that I'm coming from Queensland Health. So again, this is another pharmaceutical database. I can go to this one, to any section here, for example. I logged in automatically. I don't have to remember any multiple, usernames and passwords. The same here with that database. But let me show you what else you can do here. So if I go to the demo account that we have, so this is how that looks like. So what the difference is that, the library has embedded a video here. You can watch the video as an end user. You have the information down here. You have the opening hours. You have more links here. And very importantly, you have some discovery services. For example, you have Google Scholar. You can have, open access content. And we've done this integration recently, and we've seen lots of interest and demand for that integration. So basically, you can put any search, and you can search more than 200 million articles, open access articles here. So I want to search something topical, COVID. And I'll click the link, and it will take me to that to the core discovery, and then I can even filter the results according to my language, or for example, if I want specific type of content, if I click the scientific reports, for example, it'll take me here. So if I want to read something about how asthma, how COVID affects asthma, for example, I'll go to the PDF straight on. And this is a tool that many customers, many libraries have used before. And I'll show you later on, as an administrator, how easy it is to just add that discovery tool here. So now I'm gonna go to the library, to that customer's library website, and do something similar. So here, for example, this organization in Australia, they have their own library website. So how OpenAthens works in OpenAthens Lite works in that case is that you just put again your login details, and this is where the OpenAthens session starts. So you can see here they have some links. So again, if I go and open these links, on other tabs, again, it's the same kind of experience. You just log in automatically. You don't have any problems. You don't need to just remember other login details. Also, what I would like to show you is what James said about personalization in his presentation. And what does that mean practically? That means that I click the link to go to the clinical key here. And what happens here is I also logged into my personal account that I have with clinical key automatically. And why is that important? Well, we find out with research that users, they would like to have personal accounts with some of the publishers for practicality reasons. For example, here you can see I can go and save my content. So if I was, I was on the bus the other day, I found an interesting article about, muscle growth that, interests me, but I didn't have the time to read it. So what I did is that I saved it. So now that I'm back home, or I go to the library, I can click, I can go to my saved content, and then I can read the article. I can do my research, and that's very beneficial if you have 4 or 5 personal accounts with different publishers, because of the technology that we use, the Federated Access and the SAML technology, I can log in practically without having to use some credentials for this publisher. And then if I had a personal account with the other publisher, I would have to do that again, different credentials. So nobody nowadays can remember 5, 10 different username and password that you can log into providers, to service providers, to publishers. So it's one of those things that is very important that we found out. Now, another benefit about Federated Access is also when students and researchers go to access e-resources from Google. And we know from research that we've done, and from what we hear from librarians, that lots of students and researchers, they don't go to the library page to start their journey. Some people go to Google Scholar, they go to Google, just start the journey there. And this is a big chunk of people that do that. So what happens if you use OpenAthens and Federated Access? I want to go to this article. Somebody, a colleague of mine, sent it, and I want to check it out and read it. So I find it on the web, Google, and then I'm going to click the link. And because we use that Federated Access technology, it takes me to the Science Direct, to the publisher's page. And because I've been here before, and I put my institution, I can click the link, and then it takes me straight to the article. The first time, and you can see here, they know where I'm coming from. The first time that I do that, I have to select, the clinical knowledge network. But then every time that I go to, it remembers my institution, I go in automatically. Now, if you have another proxy solution and you try to do that, that's a dead end. You cannot get to the publisher's website. You're not gonna find the content. As a user, you would be frustrated, and then you will go to Sci-Hub or or something like that. Now, what I will do is that's from the end user's point of view. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and log in as an administrator. I'm going to show you the reports dashboard and what you can do with the OpenAthens Lite. So let me go to one of our customers to show you how it looks like. So if you're a librarian and you log in as an administrator, you can see this is the dashboard. So you can see the top resources here, and you can play around, for the duration. If you want to see the last 30 days, you can see that, no problem. Total authentications, and I'll touch on that, what that means, total accounts, and then you can see a heat map of where your usage is coming from. You may have some international students, you may have some students that have gone to travel outside the country. We have these scenarios very often during COVID. So here you can see where your users are coming from. And then here in the Data Explorer, you can go and explore the data a little bit more. So if you go to authentications, you can see successful authentications, but also the failed ones and why these failed, so that you can take the appropriate action. Now with the authentications data, what that means is that on that particular date, on the 19th of October, there were 461 successful authentications login. Now, this dotted line shows that the unique users on that particular date. So because lots of libraries, they want to calculate the cost per use or the cost per user, so it's very beneficial for them to see this data. And of course, they can change the duration, the granularity. Sometimes you want to put the hourly so that you can see during the day what are the busiest times. And here, if you go to the resources tab and the usage here, you can see more information about who is using what. So, if I can clean it up a little bit, you can see visually, how the resources compare with each other. For example, if I want to see JSTOR with SATS, so you can see here, and for any duration that that you want to do. So this is a snapshot of what you can use the reporting module still with OpenAthens Lite and get some really good information about that, about who is using what information. Now, I'm gonna go as an administrator to show you how easy it is to play around with OpenAthens to configure my Athens. So here is as an administrator, what I can do with OpenAthens. And here at the top, you can see what I'm looking at is the desktop view. But if I go here, I can see the mobile view. So this is, if I scroll down, this is how the user will see my Athens when they log in. So I'll go back to desktop to show you how easy it is, for example, to set up your, open access discovery tool. I'm gonna delete that. So let's say that you had that page, and at some point you said, what, it's, I would like to have that open access tool so that people can go there and find articles. So you can click add the card, and here are the options. If you tick the content discovery, the core discovery, you add the card, and you can name it whatever you want. So I'm gonna name it open access articles. Done it, that's fine. Now you might say as a librarian, that's a bit down there. I want to move it around. I want to put it here on the top with the other discovery tools. So you just click these arrows. And as you can see, it goes all the way up. You have Google Scholar, you might want to put it here and then put, that ETS over there. The bottom line is it's very, very easy to use it. And then again, you can see the mobile view. Where is the open access search engine. It's down there. Okay. Well, in that case, you can see here that you can actually move it around. So here is open access articles. I'm going to click the link because I want it to go all the way up to the top. So just click the arrow and it should be up in the top. Here it is. I want to make these changes permanent. I click republish, and that's about it. If the user uses MyAthens Plus to log in, this is what they will see on their mobile. First the discovery tool, the open access content, and then the videos, and then everything else. And again, that's very easy to play around and very easy to put the list of resources, to add information, because what we find out is that sometimes when libraries have a web portal and they want to make changes, that has to go through IT, that takes time, need to get approval. So it's not as immediate as, if you use MyAthens Plus. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you briefly. I'm concerned about the time, so I would like to leave some time for questions, if that's okay, Romy.
Yes, that's perfect. And we do have some questions. I've got a first question, if that's okay. If I use MyAthens, OpenAthens Lite rather, sorry. If I understand correctly, I would then not get any usage statistics directly from publishers. Is that right? So if you'd usually go to the publisher's portal to collect usage statistics, would anything show up there?
Are you talking about the counter reports that the publishers send out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with us. They will still get the counter reports. Now, the OpenAthens statistics is just another set of data that they can use to see actually, okay, what is happening and how many people are logging in, and if they're not logging in, why? Because the good piece of data that shows the failed authentication is important because why the authentications failed. So if there is a problem with a password, you can go back to the user, say, look, you're just logging in with the wrong password all the time. You got to be a bit more careful about that. Things like that.
Yeah, so it's just how they access it. And then once they're on the publisher's platform, the counter usage would be counted as usual. Thanks for clarifying that. We do have a couple of questions from Vyacheslav in Belarus. The first one is, and I think you can probably see them in the Q&A as well, what are the main differences between Athens Lite and using federated access via Edugain?
I would say, well, James, jump in if I don't explain it correctly, but the Edugain is, connects different federations around the world, right? So they have lots of service providers, they have IDPs, libraries, and that's fine. But there are two ways, I would guess, like the main difference is that there are two ways of logging into resources. And one is IP, as James touched upon, and another one is federated access. Now, what's happening now within publishing world and the research community is that some publishers are allowing federated access. Some publishers are not, because it's a new technology. Well, not new, but it's a little bit complicated. So they're still with IP, right? So on a global scale, you have some, publishers that they offer federated access, some not. Okay. So what happens if a library has 100 resources or 20 resources, for example, and some resources are with IP? What's going to happen then? If you go only with federated access, you're not going to have access. Now, with OpenAthens, we solved that problem because we offer a proxy service as well as federated access. So we cover pretty much 95% of the resources out there because 95% of publishers are either IP or federated access. So you come to OpenAthens, so you don't have to worry about the present and you don't have to worry about the future as well. And I see another question, federated is not via IP. James.
Just to add to that, I mean, so if you're doing federated access into EduGain is the federation you're talking about. With OpenAthens, we have our own federation, so you don't need to be doing federated into EduGain. So if you are currently doing federated access, I assume you have another system in there that's doing that. Perhaps it's a shibboleth or something that either you host or manage. And so OpenAthens, what we do is we would, we provide that fully hosted solution. So it should be easier to manage, or simpler to do. And it allows you to still get the benefits of federated access. Just at this time, we'll be doing it with the OpenAthens Federation. And as Christos touched on there's the benefit that we also though have this proxy solution plugged in, because not all providers out there accept federated or SAML as a way of authentication. So OpenAthens, you're getting 2-in-1, and it bundles it all together in that method. And yeah, I hope that makes it there. And is not via IP. That's correct. Federated access is using SAML based technology to do that method of authentication. There shouldn't be IP involved in a federation.
Yeah, I think Vyacheslav was looking at, I don't think he currently has it set up yet, doing remote access through EduGain. It's like directory setup, I think, was one of the issues. So from what I understand from what you're saying is that wouldn't necessarily cover all resources. That might cover some of them, but because that would only cover those that offer access in that way, it wouldn't be necessarily across all vendors.
Exactly, yes. And that's where your resource list is very important to see if they're all a part of that federation. And if so they're not a part of the OpenAthens Federation, then it's fine, because if they work with IP, because they're not part, then we will just put them on our proxy service. And I see there he's mentioned there about service providers. Yes, that's the other side to it. Is there are service providers the other side of the federation, and we encourage them to join the OpenAthens Federation because they are then getting the benefits of that federated authentication. It's more secure, so their information, their journals and everything are far more protected. There's far less risk of misuse happening. So that's their benefits of joining, and then also the whole user experience all around on both sides. So we have a separate team that reach out to service providers and say, look, do you want to join the OpenAthens Federation? That builds the other side, but that is a kind of a separate conversation.
And are there specific requirements for becoming a service provider?
So we can manage with that. So it depends on that service provider and what they already have. Some have no methods of working with SAML at all. And so in that case, we have a product that does that for them and takes that complexity out of it. And then others might, for example, have a shibboleth again or something that does SAML, and then we just make them become an OpenAthens member, if you like, of that federation. So yeah, there are providers that are interested. Then please, give us their contact details, and we can chase them up and and explain that to them.
Sure. There's some questions in the chat as well. Access electronic via resources via consortium via IP. Does it mean a university library will subscribe to OpenAthens independently, not via the consortium? I think we have that in the pricing, and that there's discounts if more than one member from a consortium signs up. But, and correct me if I'm wrong here, James, but each institution would need to have their own instance of OpenAthens Lite. There's no shared consortium version.
It can be a bit complicated, but yeah, that's usually the simplest way to go ahead, is that there wouldn't be a shared consortium. We can do that. There are methods there. So with this case, that's very much, we would want to take that on as kind of a separate case. We can still working the OpenAthens Lite pricing into it. But there are, once you talk about a consortium build, we like it so that, those individual sites can have that, that personality to it, so that they can still manage their own library sites, individually and their own users, whilst also making sure that it can be managed on a consortia level. So yeah, we're happy to take that maybe in a separate call to sort of explain the difficulties around that and how we can manage that.
Okay, but the main offer is built around not the consortium offer, but individual institutional access, so to speak. Then we've got questions about, do you need access from the university to the university directory? And I think there's an import feature, isn't there, if you have a directory?
Yes, I did touch on this briefly. So yeah, that's the preferred method we would like to set up OpenAthens Lite, is that if you do have that directory, whether it's Microsoft Azure, ADFS, Google, there are many out there, we would connect to that. And that is how your users then would use those credentials to open OpenAthens a session to start OpenAthens. So the library in this case doesn't have to manage those user accounts. It's all managed from that central directory. So yeah, that's the preferred method. That you don't need one. If you don't have one of those in place, then that's where you can create accounts within the OpenAthens administration area. So that can be done by a bulk upload form, or to help save you time, that self-registration is that add-on feature where we can create a web page where your users go to create and register for an account.
Mm-hmm. And are there trials available? Is it possible to try OpenAthens Lite for a couple of weeks?
I'll take this one, Chris. I don't think you've got anything that I do say. There isn't really a method for trialing OpenAthens because we need to create the account as as your account, due to each account is very unique, and so that's the complex side to OpenAthens, is setting it up and getting that part done. There's a lot of work involved, so sadly it's not possible just to set up a free 2-week trial.
Sure.
We can go into it, and we can certainly provide references to make sure that we are going to supply, and what you're going to get is what you are hoping for OpenAthens to do, and we can clarify all of that on a call beforehand. So there should be.
Is there maybe like a demo account, like a dummy account or something that you have set up that people could go and try out?
Again, the complications there is we need those subscriptions to go to the site, and so many sites aren't going to offer us free access to their site. So
of course,
as Christos did, we can set up a call and do a demo with an actual customer that's happy for us to demo their environment. And so we can set up a call with yourself, Andrew, or whoever else that one, to go through that, and so you can actually get that one-on-one time and ask questions, and we can actually demo the moment live there.
Yeah, that's the difference between the publishers when they do trials and us, because we are a software company. So if a publisher does a trial, it just allows access. So then the researchers can go there and see if the content is what they're looking for. But with the trial here, we tried it in the past and it didn't work for customers because we need to do a proper implementation in order for the customers to see, oh, I have 20 resources, I can click and I can go to the resources, I can have the links, I can do the reports and everything. That's why James said, it's much more beneficial if we go and do a demo and say, okay, why do you want the trial? Do you want to see the access points? Do you want to see the admin area? What do you actually would like to see? And then we can get more technical and show, big accounts, small accounts, whatever, the prospects of the customer wants, if that makes sense.
I've put a link there in the chat to the page where you can book a demo. There was another question about a consortium of 14 libraries. So I would then recommend them to book a demo so they can have a chat with you and what the options are in terms of consortium pricing, if there was a technical way that you can do it as one account and what's needed. As I said, that's a little bit more complicated and not quite fits into the box that easily. Let me see. I can't see any other open questions just now, but I've got the questions that there's one more question. Is it possible to get personal statistics from a certain user from the university?
So not in OpenAthens Lite, because that involves using attributes. Again, like I say, there's the options here to maybe look at the full package, but maybe if you are requiring support and requiring that as a part of it, we can look at that as an additional add-on or something. But there are more, the whole benefit here of OpenAthens Lite is that it is a simplified version of the product, and that allows us to provide it at these lower costs. And when you're looking at in this case here, this will be attribute release and attribute reporting. There are complexities around that, and obviously it takes a bit more usage and resource. So it's possible in OpenAthens Lite, not at the moment, but again, we're happy to have a talk around that to see what actually is you're trying to get out of that, to see if there's maybe another option.
Okay, thanks, James. Then to look at the questions that Jane had pre-submitted, we talked briefly at the start about pricing, and I'll repeat that. If you'd like to get a quote, feel free to message me. I'll put my email address in the chat, or you can get in touch with the EIFL licensing coordinator in your country who have already shared the pricing with, so they might have passed it on. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me. What if we need more than 20 connections to vendors? So my answer to this would be, and you can then correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is add-on pricing for individual vendor connections, but depending on how many more, it might be more cost effective to go for the full OpenAthens version rather than the light version. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yay.
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Good.
Because like you said, if you are adding another like 2 connections, okay, it might be economical for you to just, pay for these 2 connections. But if you want to add another 20, then you may as well go with the standard OpenAthens. It will be, more economical.
Mm-hmm. In any case, it'd be good to book a demo with you so you can then look at the 20 vendor connections, so to make sure there's no misunderstanding on what you count as one connection and what a library might count as one connection. There might be some that are actually 2 separate ones, depending on the publisher platforms. We gave the example of Cambridge, where ebooks and journals are hosted on one platform, so this is one connection. And in other cases, a publisher has different products on a completely different platform. It would be counted as 2 connections, so maybe worth checking on that as well. Then we've got a question here. What is the typical setup time for up to 10 or 20 vendors that are already in the OpenAthens catalog? How quickly could you get set up with Access?
So we would hope for really 2 to 4 weeks on that for all of them. So the service could be up and running for most of those resources in a couple of weeks, but obviously the longer the setup time takes longer, because it's the going back and forth with those resource providers, those connections to get them set up. And so some just take a bit longer than others. It's not technical work, it's just a lot of back and forth sometimes. And so, yeah, we give that sort of as a window that we're hoping for with OpenAthens Lite. Yeah.
Great, thanks. We've talked a little bit about the difference between OpenAthens Standard and OpenAthens Lite. In terms of the complexity, there's no attributes involved in the OpenAthens Lite, so it's simpler. So you can, for example, say, I want this faculty to have access to only the science journals, and the English faculty only has access to the humanities stuff. So you can't do that. Your reports are not as detailed, and there is a limit on the number of vendors, bar the add-on. What are some of the other differences?
I mean, you kind of listed most of them there. The other side is during the setup, you are still going to get an assisted setup with our support desk. You just don't get a sort of designated implementation specialist. And it is purely because the setup, we are, with 10 to 20 resources, not using attributes, there isn't such a complex setup on that. And so, yeah, you're not getting the reporting, you're not getting the restrictions, as we said, the permission setting roles either. But those are the key features that are out of it. Whereas OpenAthens Lite, you're still getting the important side, which is the remote access, that key user experience. You can still connect a user directory, so you can still have the user credentials come from another source. You get one connection in there, and then up to 20 resources.
Okay. If I have a library website, do I need my Athens Plus?
Go on, Christos, you can have this one. You covered my Athens a lot.
Yeah, we come across this question quite often, and the answer is you might need it because, first of all, some library websites are different. We redesigned My Athens Plus because we had a previous version that we didn't develop it for many years. So we did some research. We get the UX experts to see how best they can design the platform so that it's mobile friendly and it's fit for purpose. So it's the most updated version ever. And another few things, you can have your order links there. We found out that some users find My Athens despite the fact that the library has a website. So they find My Athens by accident, on the net. And then, if they go there and you don't have anything, they might get confused. So if you have My Athens Plus with all the links and then the link to your website as well, then it's a much better user experience. And on top of that, I would say, even if the library has, let's say, one resource, right? Only one resource, they can put lots of links there, lots of videos to explain, other stuff that is happening in the library and the university. And also to have that integration, that search engine for open access articles, because it's more than 200 million articles for free from 10,000 publishers worldwide, and some articles are from authors in that particular country. So that's a great resource that you can have right there. So you have everything in one place. So even if you have a library page, we would advise it's good to have My Athens Plus as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and
sorry.
yeah, just to add to that also, it's something that you can add further down the line than My Athens Plus. It is so. It's something that we could look at if it was something you wanted to see once you're up and running. Well, actually, let's put My Athens Plus. That's something we could look into. That's yeah.
Mm-hmm. James, there's a question about whether we'll make your slides accessible. Will you be able to share them?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I think you mentioned maybe put them up onto the website there or something.
Yeah,
I can do that. That's not.
If you email them to me, I'll add them there along with the recording. We've got another question from Vyacheslav. So one university has one Athens account for all students. I would say each student has their own login, but it's all set up on one kind of system, or what do you call it?
Yeah. So that can be quite what is an Open Athens account sometimes. So each student will have an Open Athens account. But that's a user account, and then yes, there will be a customer university account, if you like, a domain that Christos saw was in there where he was doing things. So it's one of those per uni, and then every individual will have an Open Athens user account.
And that's the Open Athens Lite, and the standard one you would have some like subdomains within that of who can access what content.
You can, yeah, that's getting quite complex setups, but yeah, you can set that up, yeah. I saw there was also there is a question there about the one-off setup fee up to 10 connections. So someone might have had some pricing there already or something. So yes, just so to clarify that, with Open Athens, there is an annual fee, which obviously paid annually, which is included of everything. So there's no hidden cost in that, but it's the service, it's the support, and everything that runs with it. And then there's a one-off setup fee to cover that setup. So you could have up to 10 connections, that's 10 resource connections in that, or you could have up to 20. And so the one-off fee is dependent on those number of resources because it takes longer and there's more time in that, so the cost does vary. And then there is also a one-off connection fee as well that will be included in that set-off fee, and that connection is to a directory. So I know there's a few connections going on there, but there's the resources, so that's up to 10 or up to 20, and then there's the directory connection, and that's just one of those.
But those are one-off fees. Once it's set up, that's it, and you just pay the annual fee from year 2 onwards.
Yes.
Excellent. Is there a working agreement with Open Door?
Have you heard about? I'm not aware of that, but it's something we can certainly find out.
Directory of Open Access Repositories. I guess you could create a link to your own institutional repository, and if you want to customize the OpenAthens Plus, you could add any links that you want to, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can work like
So
that.
there's not really an agreement needed there. Okay, I can't see any other questions, and we're just on time. So if there's any more last minute questions, bring them now or contact us later. I'll put my email in there again in case you don't have that, or get in touch with your EIFL licensing coordinator. And as I said, I'll share the recording and James's slides. And then next step, if you want more detailed one-to-one consultation, book a demo. I'll put that in the email again as well, the link to that. Great. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Cheers.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.